gentleman from New York is recognized for any questions you may have for the panel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our nation's veterans deserve the best that we can give them when it comes to care and resources at the VA. And I think all of us in this room can agree with that principle. Now, unfortunately, time and again, the VA has fallen far short of this principle and left our veterans, who have given so much to the security and to the safety of our country, with long delays in substandard service and neglect. Most recently, our veterans and their loved ones have been subjected to the enormous problems that have resulted from the VA's implementation of a modernized electronic health record system. Patient safety issues with this new system have been so dire that they've even resulted in several deaths. This is just a failure, and it's something that we need to fix, and the VA should be ashamed of how it has let those men and women down that fought for and served this country. Judge Carter, what does this appropriations bill do to fix the VA's electronic health record system implementation?
Fund the people that say they can do it. Now, this has been my issue since 2004. That's a long time. And one of the things I keep asking people is, where's the money we've already given you? And nobody's gotten this thing done. And that's something we ought to ask. Right now, we started the program. It looked like they were going in the right direction. And then we're not capable of finishing. They got bought up by another company, and we renegotiated the contract with this other company, and they said they could get it done in a year. We're going to be checking on them monthly. That's where they are. Because it's ridiculous. You know, from 2004 to today, it's 20 years.
It's a long time.
And or almost 20 years. So the real issue is what's going on. And why can't they do it? And I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. And that's a bipartisan issue, believe me. And it has been since day one. Both sides are mad about that issue.
Good. Well, thank you. In addition to the implementation of the electronic record system, is there anything further that you would like to highlight or reiterate that this bill does to move or to bring significant improvements in the VA?
I'd like to clear up a little bit of stuff. We provide 106, I can't read these big numbers. $161 billion, million, I guess it is, of mandatory funding, and we also provide $20.268 billion for the toxic exposure fund, which is equal to the FY20 budget request of $182 billion and $1.3 13.5 billion above the FY23 enacted. So we certainly did not short that particular issue that we're discussing. It's just when they're going to do it with what chemicals.
Very good. Thank you so much. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Would the gentleman yield?
Oh, of
me
course.
for a question?
Absolutely.
I had a question, Mr. Cuellar.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to ask, I think it's, to answer your question, because I think we're in a bipartisan agreement that we got to do something about the way the VA works. Cutting it, I don't think is exactly the way to do it, but I think what we ought to do is we got to do our jobs and provide legislative oversight, and I'm talking about real legislative oversight. Number two, there's ways that we can put language to make sure that we have spend plans and other ways to get the job done. But I think one of the most important things is to have the real, what I call real legislative oversight, where we do our, I'm talking about all of us, our job, and implement what's in the law, but it doesn't apply to the, it's something I changed the law back in 2010, the modernization dealing with performance-based budgeting. We have it up there, but Congress hasn't applied it. I think if we did that, we would know that if we spend $1, we know what's the bang for the $1. And we look at the measures and the performance and the inputs and the outputs. And I think those two things would be legislative oversight and some sort of performance-based budget, that. Thank
If
you.
you'll continue to yield for an additional question, just on the PFAS issue, and we've dealt with that a lot in the Authorizing Committee of Energy and Commerce. And one of the difficulties is, number one, there's a number of compounds that fall into that category. And then one of the other difficulties is the EPA has not yet finalized the rule, and they've not yet reached a designation. Does there need to be a CERCLA designation around some of the PFAS chemicals? So this is not a problem that is not being addressed in this appropriations bill, but it is a bigger and tougher problem, not one that we don't need to solve, we do, but right now, one of the difficulties in solving it in the Milcon VA appropriations bill is that the APA has not finalized. They need to provide us the information on what exactly we're trying to contain. Otherwise, it becomes just a free-for-all as far as spending, and no amount of money that you spend can get you the result that you want if you don't know where you're trying to go before you start out to get there. So thank you, Mr. Langworthy. I appreciate you yielding.
Would the gentleman
Chairman,
yield?
would you-
Thank you very much, and I want to thank both our witnesses, particularly